Hi everyone, hope you guys are doing great. So, uh, in this video, we are going to discuss the backend API that we are going to consume in our Angular app, and I'll also be discussing the schema for the existing app that we have created. So far, we have created our Angular app, basically the only the front end part of it, which is consisting of a few components, but it's not a working app in terms of any connectivity with the API or DB. So without further ado, let's just start. Okay, so we have our app over here. Let me just open it. You can see this is the previous app till here we have created. And if I can quickly show you for this, we have created a couple of components and we were having our app working like this. So moving forward, let's just, okay. So I have created a database for our SQL showcase application and I've created a few tables. I'll quickly walk you through those tables and then we'll be focusing on just one table and creating an API and consuming that specific table to grab data and show it on the Angular app. Then we will be refining further how we are going to proceed. Okay, so I have created like a six tables. One is for users. You can see the users which we will be creating and displaying the data against. Then we will be having a post and notification table. Within the post table, you can see we do have the content as well, and then the notification table. With this notification is against any specific message, and so any notifications can be shown here. Then we have some likes. Like can be against a comment ID or a post ID. Then we have connections. Connection is somewhat similar to the way we are planning for a clone of LinkedIn. So it's somewhat like whom you are connected to and how we are going to maintain. So, and comments is the one which is like how a comment is created and how it's being tagged with the user and a post ID. I'm not going in very much detail. My prime objective is to create us app backend app using .NET Core. So let's move to the Visual Studio. Okay, so let's move to the Visual Studio. I have already opened the Visual Studio and over here I have written API. So this will help you identify the API template for the ASP.NET Core Web API. So I'm going to select this, going to move forward. In a specific location, I'm going to save it. I'm going to name it Skill Showcase API. So it's SSC API. And I'm going to place the solution in the same folder. So keeping this, so let me just start. And I'm keeping all the default configurations as is. Okay. So we have a basic app ready, like basically a boilerplate code ready. So I can quickly show you the weather forecast will be working. And okay, okay. So we need to remove this weather forecast as we don't need it. So what we are going to do, we will be focusing on our posts data first because the page that we have over here, if I can quickly show you, one thing is the login page, which is probably related to user, but I'm not focusing on that right of now, as of now. And my focus is to show data being pulled for a post. Basically, this is a static code over here, a static post over here. I want to pull a post via the API and want that to be rendered over here. So I'm going to focus on the post controller. So let me just remove this controller. No, sorry, this is not the controller. I just need to remove because we don't need. And what I'm going to do uh, to this for weather forecast, I'm going to rename this weather forecast to post controller. I'll quickly show you how I'm going to proceed. And as I don't need any additional thing, so I'm going to remove everything which is over here. We'll see further what content we are going to add. So it's just a simple class, which is a post controller and which is having a base controller. I will keep the route as API slash controller route. And what we are going to do now, we need to use uh, basically the entity framework just to base our things up. We are going to use entity framework, and as you can see, I do have SQL Server, so we will be using SQL Server package for the entity core. So let's try to locate that. I'm going to the NuGet package manager, and I'm going to the solution. Let me just write entity framework over here. Uh, I'm looking for entity framework core, so I need to browse it because by default it's going to come over here in the install tab. So this is the entity framework core which I'm going to include in our project. So the stable version seems like it's 9.0, so I'm going to install that. Okay. And the second thing that we require is the SQL Server. So let me just install that as well. Entity framework core.sql server. So let me just figure it out. Let me just install that as well. So let's just quickly see. You can see over here the packages that we have installed. One is the core and the one is the SQL Server. If we need any other package like tools for this, then we'll be adding, but we are keeping it to the minimalistic approach, and we are going to proceed with this. You can see we have a controller folder over here. I'm going to create two more folders. One is for the models, the data model that we are going to get for this post, and one additional folder I'm going to create that is for data. Data will contain basically the app context, and I'll be discussing shortly what application context is and how we are going to work for that. So let's just create one class. Let me just add a class, and I'm going to name it application DB context. So you can see we have an application context over here, and I'm going to inherit it from DB context. I'll quickly show you what's the reason. When I use this, you can see over here, this class is uh, getting from this class is basically within this package entity framework core. And you can see even the IntelliSense and the AI in the ID is helping us how we are going to create a DB context class. For the sake of clarity, I'll be typing this so you can see like we have a public, and this is basically the constructor. So I'm just typing it to keep things easy. And what now we are going to do, we are going to use the DB context options. So DB context options are basically those options which are getting pushed to this or injected it at the time when we are going to modify it within the program.cs file. So I'll quickly show you when we'll be approaching that thing. So for time being, think of this like I'm going to just add DB context. Just sorry for that. Okay, so let me just add DB context options, and we need to and we need to provide the class name which we are already using. That's the application context. I'm going to name it options. And you can see one more thing we have done, IntelliSense have quickly done that. So we are just calling the base as well with the options parameter. So having this, one more thing we need to create in that with our constructor being created. Let me just create one DB set. Basically, DB set tells us which table we are going to fetch the data from. So let me just create a post. We don't have a post model. I'm just creating this, and then I'll be quickly creating the post model. So I'm going to generate a type class in a new file. So I'm going to create a post in a new file. So let me just create that one. It's being created over here in the data folder, but I don't want it over here. So I'm dragging it into the models folder. I just need to, yeah, it already renamed the namespace. So you can see we do have a post class. So let me just write a few post IDs. Let's just quickly refer to our post table. So you can see over here, we do have around 5 or 6 fields. So let me just write. I'm going to use the prop keyword. So it will allow me to quickly write the property. And first, it's going to be post ID. Then we have, if I can quickly show you, user ID and then content. So let me just write user ID. And then we have a public string for the content, which is this. Then we need a media URL, which is null at that point of time. We're going to write string media URL. And then we have privacy level. Again, I'm going to keep it a string because we aren't using any relation over here. So privacy, we have used the privacy level. So I need to make it privacy level. And the last thing we have over here is dated at. So this is going to be a date time field, and it's created at. So you can see over here, we have created a model class for our post, and this is going to be referenced here in our DB DB set. One more thing we need to do is we need to set the connection string. I do have a connection string, so let me just pull it up. I'm using, just wait for a while. Okay, so I have copied connection string. I'll quickly show you. Basically, the connection string over here within the app settings, I have created that one, and the default connection name is here, and it defines the server, the database name, username, and the password. So it already relates and deal with what I have created over here. So let me just leave it as it is. And what I'm going to do further, so with application Then we need to have our program.cs file, and we need to register this after the controller. We need to register this. So let me just, with this, you can see over here, even the IntelliSense is telling us like the services, we need to add DB context with the DB context class that we have created over there. So we need to use that. So let's just add the DB context and then mention the file. And for the options thing, you can see we have an option to use SQL Server. So we have used the SQL Server, and within the builder, and we need to use the configuration get settings, and this is going to be the application settings. Let me just open that. Connection settings, we have a default connection over here. So I need to use a default connection. With this being done, let me just do one thing. Let's bring it up. So database is here, and for this one, let me just try to get, you can see we are using the core framework. So let's just try to build our app and see if it works or not. Okay, so by default, because we have created it from a boilerplate code, so let's just try to navigate over here. And one thing I think, okay, one thing which we have missed, we haven't defined any HTTP action or anything to get off hold of any data. So that's the reason we aren't getting anything. So that's the part which we have missed within the controller. Let's just create a private read-only application context. Why we are using it? You can see the application context. The reason to use is we need to access the database. So in our subsequent, I would say the action, we will be using this application context to retrieve the data. So we need to inject this over here in the constructor. You can see like the public host controller, and with dependency injection, this is going to be injected here. So we'll be having the context. Now I'm going to create an HTTP GET function, and I'm going to call public async, and it's going to return a task of action result. I just need this, and I am going to name it get all posts. For the time being, I'm going to get all posts, and then I'm going to use var. I'm just using a simple variable. I'm going to write it as a post, and as I use the async, so I'm going to use await, and this is the context which I was talking about earlier, the application context, and then we are going to access that specific post, and then we are getting a list out of it, and we are going to return all the posts over here. So let's just try to compile this and try to get this post. Again, as I have already mentioned, that API, and we were having like posts. You can see it says invalid name, invalid colon name context. So something is not right over there. So let's just see what actually happens. It's an application context, and we do have the post. Post is fine. Let's see one thing within the post. Everything is there. We have our connection string over here, and within the controller, we have done it right. And what else? This one. At this level, we have used set default configuration. So that's pretty fine. Sure, let me just try to figure out context. So I'm trying to figure it out. What is actually happening within the context? We are going to add the post, and posts are post ID, user ID, and context. Okay, it says context over here. Let's see if we have something like content. Okay, our mistake, it's written content over here, and I have mistakenly used the content, so it should be content, not the context. So let me just try to rerun it again. Let's navigate to API like post. Let's just okay, this time the data is null. The reason is I've already faced that. So the reason is I have kept some data over here intentionally as null. So to mitigate this, what I'm going to do in the model, just give me a minute. I'll make this nullable and we'll try to rerun it. I'm going to API/post. Okay, so you can see over here the data that we have in our post. We are able to pull it up with just a simple API that's being created within the .NET Core and using Entity Framework Core and having SQL Server. So we have created this basic API. So I'll be keeping this video till here because in the next video I'm going to modify the Angular app to consume this. So at this point of time, we have like very basic but functional API, which is allowing us to return our post data and which we are going to consume in our Angular app. So hopefully you have learned how to create a backend API uh, using this video. And if you like the video, so please do mention in the comment of if you think something needs to be improved, and please do comment that as well. And if there is any questions or anything you like that you like me to add to this, so please do let me know. So thank you for watching. Uh, have a nice day. Bye.